If you've been working with Peachtree correctly, by this point you're going to be an old hand at working with forms and setting up defaults and those types of things. So when it comes to adding customers, it should be old hat. It's just like adding the vendors and other accounts that you've created. Let's go ahead and run through one real quick so we can make sure that we know everything there is to know, though, about customers specifically. I'm going to click on the Customers button and then choose New Customer. I'll go ahead and enter a customer ID, and you might want to have some kind of naming scheme, if you will, to work with this. Remember that customer IDs should always be consistent, so come up with some kind of rule, whatever that is. They are case sensitive and they can be up to 30 characters, so kind of keep that in mind as you go about trying to figure this out. I'm going to do just kind of a typical thing, which is the first 4 letters of a last name and then a number. I'm going to be entering a record for Susan Abernathy, so ABER1 certainly works. And you could, of course, allow Peachtree to set this for you, but then it would use the person's whole name. Again, just a choice to be made. Let's go ahead and type her name out. And remember that if you're working with individuals, this is fine, but if you're working with a business, then you'd want to put the business name here and the person's name under the contact information down below. On the right-hand side, you do have a check mark that you can mark things as a prospect and or inactive. We're used to inactive, but the prospect check mark means that somebody has not actually done business with you. Now, this is actually interesting because it shows up that way, but if you go out and create an invoice, then this becomes automatically disabled. That's kind of good news. It means that you don't have to manage it. But if somebody maybe says, just sign me up for a mailing list, or you somehow otherwise get their name without them having actually done business with you, this would be the check mark to use. The information that we see in the regular portion of the box is what we're used to. Contact information, billing addresses, are they paying sales tax? I'm not going to type in everything, but I do want to work with the specific things for customers that maybe we haven't seen too much before. The first one that I see, of course, is sales tax, and this is a drop-down. When I click on this, I should see any of the sales taxes that I created. In this case, it's my Oregon tax at 5%. It's good to know that that's already working. On the right-hand side, we have types of customers, so we could call them commercial, wholesale, retail, a variety of different things, as well as telephone numbers, fax numbers, and emails. Remember, if you want to send things via email, like invoices and statements, that it's important to enter the email information here. At the bottom of the screen, we also see customizable fields. Second contact and reference, as well as mailing list, are those that Peachtree already had in place. But we can also see the one that we customized, which is allergies. In this case, I'm going to put in a little medical abbreviation, if you will, for no known allergies, NKA. Now let's take a look at some of the other tabs. We can keep multiple addresses, like billing addresses and shipping addresses. We also can have a history. And ultimately, after this person is established and when they start having transactions, this tab will automatically populate by Peachtree. The Sales Info tab lets us keep some information kind of about the demographics or maybe important information for us to make good sales calls with, which is who is their default sales rep. So if the customer comes in, we can certainly look that up and make sure they talk to the right person. We also can put in the default GL sales account. So let's work with this just a little bit. GL sales account right now is $40,000. That's for hair services. But what we know about Susan is that Susan doesn't ever come in for hair services. She only comes in for manicures. So we could go ahead and choose that as the default. Now that doesn't prevent us from making other types of sales, but it means that this will be the default account and we won't have to select it every time we create an invoice. We can work with purchase orders, what kind of shipment she uses, if she has a resale number, in other words, if she's a customer who is then reselling it so we're not charging her sales tax, and what pricing levels if we're using those as well. We also can choose the method with which we want to deliver things. Do we want to use paper or do we want to use email? I strongly urge you these days to use email anytime you can. First of all, it gets instant delivery, and second of all, it saves you a stamp and all of the labor of having to print things out, fold them up, and put them in the mail. You also have an opportunity to email a sales rep when you use batch processing. So if I send out a statement or an invoice, the sales rep can automatically be updated on that, which is really good. The last tab that we have is payments and credits. If I'm keeping credit card information, I can hold that information here. And on the right-hand side, I can also work with what her particular terms are. Now remember, we set those up as the defaults, but every person could have something different. On the bottom of the screen, we also can work with receipts. Do you want to use the payment method and cash account from the last saved receipt when you work with these? And if so, what's the payment method and the cash account? So as you can see, these are very familiar to us now that we've been working within Peachtree. So I'm going to simply save this and close it and move on to getting some sales.